I'm sorry, all of these coaches that say coaching over the phone or coaching over Zoom removes distractions and you can get right to the point and it's better. Bullshit. You're lying to yourself to make yourself feel better about coaching the way that you coach, because it is not the same.
Is the thought of being imperfect keeping you from taking action? Welcome to Inspired Action for Imperfect Humans. Each week, we give you real-life stories and thought-provoking research that inspires your soul to live a more fulfilled life through your own actions. From the heart of Calgary, Canada, here are your hosts, award-winning coaches, Christopher Lawrence and Kyle Kalu.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Kyle, it is the start of a new year and the start of a new season for us here on this podcast. Season 4. We want more. Give us season 4.
And we hope it's the start of a new attitude for you for 2022. We're hoping
the listeners, oh, you're so rude. I hope it's the start of a new attitude for you, Kyle. Because I know you weren't talking about me.
Of course not. Of course not.
I have a spot on my glasses.
Are you like you seem really chill today, actually. Is this how the new year is gonna be?
Oh, let me tell you something. I am currently on I'm currently on day 5 of waking up at 3 a.m. and not being able to get back to sleep.
Oh,
and so I'm a bit punchy today. So watch out.
Oh,
watch out, world. I'm punchy.
Although he says world, he's talking about me. I'm usually the recipient of a lot of that
you're
punch.
My world, Kyle. You know that. After the dog, after my husband, after the business, after our employees, after our clients, you're definitely somewhere in there.
At least I'm on the list, folks. Sometimes it's just being on the list is important. So how was your year? Welcome to another year, dude. Can you imagine we made it through?
Did we? Girl, there are some battle wounds and scars. I'll tell you what, like, it's like, I think sometimes people look at us on social and, like our massive following of 4 people. And I think they look at us and sometimes they, people develop impressions with what they see on social media. For sure they do. I spent a lot of November and December reaching out, even October, reaching out to people that I hadn't reached out to in a long time. And they, it's interesting because I'm talking to them on the phone, just trying to catch up, keep connections going and alive and whatever else. Cause at some point in time, you realize you have no friends left. And it's amazing. Like, they're all like, oh, congratulations on all of your success. And while I appreciate that, I'm like, for me, it's just another day. It's like, I do think that we are successful at what we do for sure. But I think that people sort of, they don't see the whole picture. And it's like, it's like, girl, our last 2, like the last 2 years, the last year has been like the first year of business. It's been like horrendous. It's been hard, right? And I think that people miss that, and
it's all the successes we've often said is always on the back of some failures, right? It's just, that's the other piece. And I think people see that and they celebrate that. Make no mistake, because who do you want to be celebrating your failure anyway? However, in retrospect, there's moments that we say, you know what, I'm glad for that lesson. Now we know what we need to do. And like you were saying, last 2 years of being there to support other people, we also experienced those pieces, that, hey, it wasn't business as usual like it was previous year. We're back to hunting for businesses. We're back to hunting, revamping what we do, right? And so that's just what comes with it. And so it makes you kind of wonder, why are we doing what we're doing? Are we destined for a 9-to-5 gig? Should we just go with a day-to-day? What does that even look like?
You know what? I think that's a really important point that you're making. And I think that it kind of alludes to this thing that your coach actually posted up on social media in December.
Oh, Jamie Atkinson. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah.
So he posted this up. So I'm going to read it. It says, humans weren't made to sit at a desk 9 to 5, come home every night to watch Netflix, explore the world for only 2 weeks out of the year, have zero creativity, have every single aspiration beat out of them. There's so much more to life.
Yeah, that was very impactful when I saw it, because we've talked about some of that as well. What's your take on it? Like, what jumped out for you when you read that?
Well, it's interesting because my immediate take is like, yes, 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 right? But I will also say I am kind of sick of our meme world where we take complex concepts and boil them down into 5 statements on a meme. So I appreciate what it evokes in me, but I think it's overstated. I'm sorry. There's office work out there and people have to do it, and people have to make ends meet, and not everybody's going to make $10,000 by selling one online program, to people that doesn't work, like not everybody's going to do that, and most people don't have access to it or know how to do it. I'm not saying don't dream. What I'm saying is I don't like how it's boiled down into something so simple. Although I agree with the sentiment that the post has. There's a sentiment to it that I think resonates with probably the vast majority of the population.
Yeah.
What did you take from it?
Or a group of people who just don't want to do that anymore. I think when you look at some people who, when we went to this online thing, everyone had to go to it right away. And as you know, with change, because, change is hard, and simple is sometimes hard enough. Not everyone picked up on it right away. What's going on with your glasses, dude? For some people who are,
I'm drinking tea out of my jar, and my glasses are fogging up.
I'm so into it.
I'm breathing into it so I can have a first sip, and it's like
I'm getting into it, and all I see is I blinked and I saw his glasses are just fogged up, and I'm like, "Where are you? Like, what are you doing?" Folks, are we cutting this out? Because I was just shocked. Anyway, but I think, when we moved into the online world, some of us had to do it right away. Some of us were already doing it. But what I'm hearing from our clients, because I think you had said something similar to about your clients, but what I'm hearing from my clients is that for a lot of them, they're like, I can't do this constantly sitting at a desk all day. Like, it's not the world I was in. It's not what I was doing. I was shaking hands, kissing babies all the time, or I was so innovative. I was connecting with people. I was going out there, right? And so now their questioning is, if this is my world, that every day I come to work and I must be behind a computer, or if I'm at home doing the exact same thing, then what's the point? Because their engagement is really dropping.
It's funny because you're the one that brought that post to me, but you love office work. Like you, So I think that the point behind the post, if I could say anything, is if you were to take more of a bird's eye view of it, is that this is really about people kind of looking at the world from a different perspective and finding out what you value, because what's in that post is what Jamie values. That's what's in that post, is what he values. Some people value coming home and watching Netflix every night. Some people do, and it's like, well, humans weren't made to do that. And it's like, well, humans weren't really made to live in capitalism either. That's not a part of our evolutionary process. That that's human design. And I know the guy that made that post is definitely in support of a capitalist society because of how he runs his business, right? So, and I'm not bashing capitalism. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm using it as an analogy for this.
Well, it's like 2 weeks away, 2 weeks vacation as well, for some people to do it. I mean, my client yesterday, we had a great conversation as he's thinking about his team, and we were talking about the concept of unlimited vacation time. Right? Because we're like, things happens throughout the year that people need to either step away to recharge and to come back. And so the question is, well, if the work was getting done and things were moving in the right direction, do you care if they took 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, or whatever? Right?
Well, so, some people do, but yeah, I will say though, like everyone thinks they want unlimited vacation, but do you know what the research is showing? It's showing that the employer benefits more than the employee, because when it's unlimited vacation, the employee is more inclined to log in and check in and work longer hours when they have unlimited vacation. So actually what the research shows is that the employer is getting the better end of that deal. What I will say is that I don't think that 2 weeks is long enough for me personally. What's interesting about it, I have clients, Kyle, I've worked with people. I had a client who she hit a benchmark in her career where she got an extra week of vacation. And then she also had the opportunity to purchase an extra week of vacation. And
you can do that? Oh, that's,
and
wow.
She actually didn't want either, but she could only refuse the optional purchase. And I'm like, why? She says, I won't do anything with it. She says, I'll be bored. I'd rather be at work. And so I just, I just think, he makes a comment about like travel the world. It's like, I have clients that don't care. Like, it's like, I had a client who worked in Armenia for I don't know, I think it was a couple years. And everyone's like, well, you're there, you should go travel here, go travel there. He's like, I have no interest. He's like, I'm just here to do my job and come home and do what I'm going to do. Not my value system, but he was quite content doing it.
Sure.
Right? He wasn't morose about it or anything.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder that, and this is the thing that constantly come out. I'm not sure what the research is on this. I mean, I have my own experience about engagement, but we find people in the workforce are engaged differently, right? There's certain people who, value traveling the world, like you were just saying, certain people who don't value, traveling the world. Some people want more vacation. Some people want less vacation. Some people want meaningful work. Some people don't want meaningful work. And so as a leader, how do they actually navigate who wants what? Like, what should they have a standard and then just go from there, or should they be open to be flexible? Like, what's out there? What are people getting engaged about? Because
I do have some stuff that I want to share, but I want to bring something to your attention. Kyle, you promised people that we were going to go deeper on this podcast, and right now, girls and boys, you're listening to him and y'all know what I'm going to say. This bitch is talking so theoretically from the front of her head. She ain't going any deeper, girl. She's pinky deep, and that's it.
Let's start the conversation, because I know you sometimes.
What do you mean start the conversation? We've been here for 11 minutes and you haven't said anything.
Knowing about the end. I'm asking you about engagement. What is
we're going to talk about engagement, but when are you going to go deeper? You promised them that you'd go deeper. So girl, give them something. Girl, tell me a story.
Why don't you bring up something and I could get into
He's buying time. He's buying time. Okay. I'm going to get into this to see if I can save this episode. So I came across people. They can if they're on YouTube. I came across global employee engagement data for 2020. So this was survey data spanning 80 million survey responses from 160 countries.
Oh, wow.
And it's as of January 2020. So this would now be 2 years old. But actually, what we've seen is that the engagement is lower now than it was 2 years ago. So I'm gonna give the numbers from 2 years ago, because this is actually it's a little bit of a landmine. So when we talk about employee engagement, we're talking like personal engagement and disengagement at work. So it's basically the employee's ability to harness their full self, if you will, at work.
Right.
So what the research shows, an engaged employee who's able to harness their full self will display loyalty and ownership, which loyalty is I don't like that word, because I think loyalty in the workplace is dead, because it's got to go both ways, and it's not going both ways. But an example of this is that they might tackle tasks without being asked, or they might anticipate the need, right? They'll put an extra effort in the organization, maybe. They'll do more than kind of work to rule activity.
Yep.
So here's what the global employee engagement shows. Overall, 41% of employees globally, so 80 million responses, 41% are engaged.
Interesting. I found that number's a little bit high, but
well, it is now, because I actually think it's less than 30% now is what we're seeing. Right. But you say that number's high, but look at the other numbers. That means that 59% of employees are disengaged or actively disengaged.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
It's crazy. You know, I mean, and I think we don't have the reaction that most people would have because this is not new for us. Like we're talking to people who are in that boat, right? And I know how we get sometimes when we hear it, because we know it doesn't have to be that way. It's not that complicated.
Well, to be honest with you, Kyle, I probably fall in that category. I love what I do, but I love it when it's not pandemic and where, you know, where things were, you know, not easier, but, you know, less complex. I liked it better when I could meet with clients in person. I'm sorry, all of these coaches that say coaching over the phone or coaching over Zoom removes distractions and you can get right to the point and it's better. Bullshit. You're lying to yourself to make yourself feel better about coaching the way that you coach, because it is not the same. And I can tell you that wholeheartedly. It's not the same for the coach and it's not the same for the client. I'm not saying there's no value. That's not what I'm saying. But do not tell me that the coaching is more valuable through a virtual platform than it is. You cannot experience things like oxytocin, connection with others the same on Zoom as you can in person. It just doesn't exist. We have so few clients coming in our doors these days in person. It's all online. And so I fall in that disengaged category. I struggle with it. It's not as enjoyable for me. I like it when I can trade seats with a client. I like it when the client can get up to the whiteboard. You know, I hate to say it honestly, because I know that I have clients that listen to this, but this is, you know, this is reality, and you wanted to go deep, girl. And I promised you I'd say, now, girl, we're at least 6 inches deep. Okay, so I'll give you.
Let me add something to that.
You don't like my measurement jokes?
No.
Or I could be a carpenter. I'm so accurate.
I like the accessibility of coaching online, especially for people who are not in the area. Because that was something, you know, you get into
totally understand.
You get a different, right? However, I do agree with you that it isn't necessarily better, right? Those people are saying it's going to be better because it's online and distraction.
I would just say it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's different things. I remember just going back to a piece, and you mentioned something about loyalty. When I was first starting out at McDonald's, I was very loyal. And most companies I think I work with, I would say I'm very loyal to it, meaning they've got to do a lot to me to get me pissed off, because I was drinking the Kool-Aid. You know, at McDonald's, I had ketchup in my blood. You know, I bought into these things, and I loved it. I loved the environment, all these other things, right? That's what we used to say. You have ketchup in your blood. And at WestJet, you like, you have teal, teal
and navy,
in the Kool-Aid, you know, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. And here's the thing. But I found when they started, you know, the people, and these were people I've worked for, right, started to piss me off, not treat me fairly, you know, not treating others around me fairly, then I became disengaged and I didn't actually care anymore. I didn't want to show up for extra shift. I didn't do above and beyond that I would naturally do. I just felt I was just counting it down. 5 more minutes until I leave, 10 more minutes until I leave, right? And that level of disengagement, even though some of us may be faking it till we're making it kind of thing, but like, oh, hi, how are you? We didn't care. And there's so much just being lost on that. I didn't like that feeling. And when that feeling happens to me, that's how I know I needed to get out. Every time that feeling has happened, no matter where I am, where I feel I'm getting more and more disengaged, for me, I couldn't stay there for just the paycheck.
I think
I've left jobs with no jobs.
I think that resonates with a lot of people, Kyle. I think the problem is that people choose to live in that pain for too long. You know, the funny thing is we're in a really messed up place right now. If you think about it, it's also an opportunistic place. In Canada, we are in a labor shortage right now, and they actually predict that this is going to last about 10 years. So they're talking about the great resignation and stuff like this, where people are just, you know, they're disengaged. So they're resigning, no plan, no nothing. That a little bit of that's happening here, but it's not really happening here. What BDC came out and said is that actually because COVID expedited baby boomers leaving the workforce, and it slowed down immigration, they're actually expecting a labor shortage for about 10 years, and sometimes more intense than others. And they do expect it'll be countrywide. What's interesting is that you have that labor shortage compared with disengagement. And if I was an employee right now, I would be hedging my bets and asking for everything that I wanted. If I wanted a raise, if I wanted more time off, if I wanted a hybrid work situation, I would ask for it. I wouldn't necessarily walk out the door if I didn't get it, but I would ask for it. If I was an employer, I would be thinking about how I can engage my employees. Money will matter for sure. You can't, because people will leave for money. But the thing is that it's not if they leave, it's about what they're leaving for. It's okay if they come back, if they're good people. So you have to offer them something. So yeah, you got to check the paycheck box, but a lot of companies are not going to be able to do that. Businesses will go out of business that are amazing businesses because they just can't hire people and sustain their revenues, right?
Yeah,
because it's going to be expensive. So just a second. So if I was an employer, I would be looking at other forms of engagement. Salary does not equal engagement. People on both sides of that fence need to understand this. Whether you are an employee or an employer, you need to recognize that salary does not equal engagement. You have to be more innovative than that. I have a few more stats I want to run through, but I'll let you talk now. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I hope 2022 is equitable talking time. But anyway,
keep hoping.
Here's the thing. Based on what you just said, well, I read somewhere that over in Alberta alone, over 200,000 people have left the workforce of food services. And a lot of them are saying they're going to office jobs and going to other jobs. Here's what I thought was interesting about it is that some of the employers in food services are saying, hey, we're going to have to raise prices now to compete with that labor. And I'm like, what the F?
Folks, Kyle and I are going to stop this podcast right now, but this is definitely a two-parter because we got involved and Kyle wanted to get to 10 inches deep and
the size matters.
We're only 6 or 7 or 8 inches because size matters. So stay tuned. Part 2 is coming next week.
It's our goal to build a global community of inspired action takers, and we can only do that with your help. So if you love Inspired Action, please leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and share us on your socials. You've heard from us. Now we want to hear from you. Go to inspiredactionpodcast.ca and tell us what is the inspired action you took this week. Next week on Inspired Action for Imperfect Humans.
Here's what I find in my experience. A lot of middle managers don't really like to manage back up. They don't push back.
Girl, now we're going deep, girl.
They don't give them an opportunity to really say, I mean, I hear you, but who would know?